Welcome back to Zion's Redemption Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Lichten Walter. You can find these recordings or videos on YouTube and Rumble at Zion's Redemption Radio Network and also on TikTok by searching for Red Pill Mormons. So we're going to be covering Chapter 19, the eternal destiny of earth and man. In this chapter, we learn that the earth goes through a similar plan of salvation and that it'll eventually be redeemed from the fall, and then that is where it goes from a telestial to a terrestrial earth. And then at the end of the terrestrial earth, it will become a celestial earth or a fire of sea and glass, and a new earth will be created. So, which parallels what we go through as well, or what we have the opportunity to go through over many eternal lives. So anyway, the intelligence that creates all spirits, animal, plant, man, women, all the gods, also is part of the earth, and there was a spiritual creation before there was a physical creation. That's why there's two different accounts in Genesis. Did you know that? That there's two different accounts that don't follow the same parallel with each other of the creation? Well, one is spiritual and one is physical. Everything is done spiritually first because we were first spirits, and then everything follows that in a physical manner. So the earth will be, redeemed from the fall, and it will become a celestial earth, and that is the eternal destiny of both man and our earth. So now there could be a plan of salvation that includes animals, because animals are just as eternal. The spirits of animals are just as eternal as man and plants. We all come from the same substance. Everything that has life comes from the intelligence. So I'm not exactly sure what kind of glories they can receive, but in the book of Revelations, it talks about exalted animals, beasts. The animals that we see on our earth are not the only creation or the only animals that have ever existed. The plants that we see are not the only plants that have ever existed. Um, it just so happens that Michael enjoyed the things that he brought here, and it was his to bring here, and he named them or organized them. So, because he had that right, the same right that Jesus Christ will have when his new earth is created. And if you get to the point where you are an Adam or an Eve or a Hava, you'll have that same right. So, and I have no doubt that Hava or Eve helped assist. She wasn't brought here at a separate time. They came together as exalted celestial beings. So the description of the first earth is the one that we have in our Bibles, and that is how the first earth was organized. But that's only how the first earth was organized. Every earth that came after that, um, the ones who come here as an Adam and an Eve, they come together, and they're not made of the dust of any earth, other than the earth that they consume. So, and all of us, I've heard people say, "Well, we come from stardust." Well, yeah, like the elements are eternal, and these bodies are made of the eternal elements of the universe. So, but really, all these bodies really are machines to help us interact with the physical world. It makes it easier for us to interact with the spiritual world, not the spiritual world, the physical world. But when we're out of the body, like there is, oh my goodness, when we're out of the body, it's harder to interact with the spiritual world. Although they can, it just takes a lot of energy. I've been physically attacked by unseen spirits, by demons. So I'll give you one account just because my wife was a witness of it. Usually I'm by myself, so I'll give you two accounts. One time I was in my semi truck and I had forgot to bless it, and I bless everywhere that I sleep. Um, but I had forgot to bless it, and I was woken up in the middle of the night. I was being pushed down, and I commanded it, whatever it was, to leave, to depart in Jesus' name or in the name of Messiah, which, anyway, which you can do. Like, you can bless things in the name of Messiah. Anyway, when I got up, I had scratches all over my back and my chest and my arms, and I had bite marks. Like, whatever this was really came after me. So the time that was when I was by myself, I was like sleeping in this semi truck. And anyway, but the time when my wife saw this thing happen, we were in Connecticut. So I used to work in Hartford, Connecticut at FedEx Ground, the terminal there in Hartford, Connecticut. And we lived in upstate New Hampshire. And I ran FedEx Ground for New England Regional. And like, I'd work 5 or 6 days a week, and I same thing I do today, you know. So anyway, work 5 or 6 days a week, and then take one day off. Sometimes I'd only do 5 or whatever, but it just so happened that this time, when I had my time off, my wife brought the kids down, and we got a hotel in Connecticut, and we had some fun, but I usually bless the hotels that I'm in too. Like, I'll go into the bathroom when we get there, and I'll just bless it, So bless the hotel room that I'll be staying in. Well, I'd forgotten to do this. And so earlier, I should have known, because earlier that day, my son, who is 20 now, was 6 at the time, and we were walking between, there was like department stores, and then there was like this vacant lot, and it was dark there, and we were walking kind of on the road for the parking lot between the two places. Like, it looked like there could be a store there, but they were separated by, I don't know, 300 or 400 feet. Anyway, so we're walking along, and my son comes up to me, and he says, there's a man that's all in black standing back there. And I was like, I know, I see him. And he's all, who is that? And I told him, that's Satan. Like, he follows me around. He's followed me around ever since before I can remember. The first time I remember seeing him was when I was 5 or 6, when we lived in North Salt Lake, Utah. My bedroom was on the east side of the house, and we were poor, but I had a bedroom. I don't know how my mom was able to afford it, but I had a bedroom, and then the two girls, and I'm the oldest living child, and there was one that was older than me, but my mom had a miscarriage when she was 17 weeks along, and she believes that I'm the same spirit, but I don't know. Anyway, but so, and my mom and dad, she left him when I was 2 or 3 years old, and then they were divorced when I was 3. And unfortunately for her, she was pregnant and didn't know it at the time. So my two younger sisters shared a separate room, and I had my own room. And I remember one of her boyfriends, his name was David Yoakum, and he was a really nice guy. I liked him a lot. But at the time, well, he bought me a bedroom set and whatever. But anyway, doesn't matter. I think he was Filipino, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I was in that bedroom, and we didn't have curtains on the windows. So, like, it was Saturday morning. I remember I was going to get up and go watch cartoons. The sun had just come over the mountains, so this light was flooding my room, and that's what woke me up. And my mom would always keep the door open for me, because I didn't have a night light, but we had the light over the stove, which I could see through my door in the kitchen area. And so she'd leave that open. Well, when I woke up, I went to get out of bed and I noticed that there was this black shadow of a man standing in my doorway that I could not see through, but it had no features. But it was pitch black and it looked solid. And it looked like it was wearing like a cape or a cloak or something, and then it looked like it had some kind of top hat on. So I didn't know what that was, but it scared me to death. And like the only thing I could like as a 5 or 6 year old kid back in the early 80s, like 81, 82 or whatever it was, like all I could think of was Darth Vader, you know? I didn't know about Satan or anything like that. But my mom tells me that before that time, of course, I don't speak to my mom anymore, or my dad. I haven't spoke to my dad since 2006, and I don't speak to my. Huh, I don't speak to. I haven't spoken to my mom since 2019, and will not. She's dead to me, and he's dead to me too. So I don't speak to any of my family anymore. Yeah, I just it just the way it goes. You know, that's the way life goes sometimes. But there's reasons why I've completely cut them all out of my life, and it has nothing to do with my claims. It has to do with their actions. So I'll leave it at that. But anyway, so my mom told me like she had to have the house blessed many times um, because like paranormal poltergeist type activity has always happened in her life ever since I've been in her life. So it didn't happen before that, but as soon as I came into this world, those things started happening. And one of the reasons why I've lived so many places is because of the paranormal activity that always followed me around. So my aunts and uncles, my cousins, my brother and sisters that I know, um, my mom, dad, all of them have had to deal with this. Wherever I go, they follow. And I didn't know why at the time. I know now. I know exactly why now. So anyway, they've tried to destroy me and harm me ever since I was an infant. My mom even abandoned me when I was 2 years old. You know, it's just I've the life I've led. It's nuts. But anyway, but things are good now. Once I cut them out of my life and I'm just with my wife and my kids and I focus on them and I focus on God and the gospel and the teachings, you know, other than ever a random people every once in a while trying to pick fights with me. Oh man. You know what? I better get into this reading. So let's get into the reading. This will post on Sunday, the 21st day of December 2025, which will be a Sunday, and it'll post at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I will be doing lives on YouTube, or at least live premieres with a live chat, and I will try to be at every single one of those live chats for any questions or comments. But man, I love, love, love adaptive cruise control in semi trucks. It makes life so much easier. Back in the day, um, you'd like put it in one gear and kind of just follow along, and then you'd have to shift a bunch. And now it's just like, okay, they're going and it speeds up, and then I've got it set at 360 feet or well, it's 3.6 seconds. I wish I could put it at 4 seconds, but anyway, it'll like slow down and speed up and slow down and speed up, and all I got to do is sit here and hold the steering wheel, you know, which is a lot nicer than the old trucks that I used to drive when I first started driving back in the 90s. semi-trucks back in the 90s. Anyway, but and you know what? Once again, I have no idea why I got into those details. Sorry, somebody was trying to come over into my lane. Stay in your own lane. Pay attention to your driving, not your phone. Ugh, people. Anyway, I kind of miss driving in the mountains and in the oil fields because I didn't have to deal with a lot of this traffic. And I left the Wasatch Front to get away from all of this, and now I drive all along the Wasatch Front every week. Like, must be a glutton for punishment. I like where I live down in Emery County. If you have a traffic jam, it's usually sheep or cows, and if there's road rage, it's usually a bull that's escaped, and there's cowboys chasing it down or trying to get it back, or there might be horses or goats or something, but it's not all of this. So, all right, I'm going to get into the reading, and I'm trying to do these so today is actually Friday, and the sun is setting, so it is the Shabbat, but you're not going to see this until after the Shabbat. Unfortunately, I couldn't get back before sundown tonight, but I will have all of tomorrow off, so, and by the time you see it, I'll be headed to Boise, Idaho. Yay me. All right, let's get into this thing, and then I'll have it come up on the premiere for Sunday, and then I'm going to try to make these a day beforehand. That way, if something happens, there's a little buffer for me. So, all right, well, that's why we're doing this at after sundown. I already did one earlier today, and I usually do it when there's sunlight, but it is Red Pill Mormon, and I'm that guy. So, all right, well, thank you for watching, and this is a full reading of chapter 19 of Mysteries of Creation. See you in a little bit.
Destiny of Earth and Man, chapter 19 of Mysteries of Creation. Pages 181 through 190. Parallels of Earth and Man. The earth, like man, was once in the presence of God, and is a living creation. Brigham Young said, "The earth is a living creature and breathes as much as you and I do." Teachings of Brigham Young, Volume 3, page 241. Like man, the earth also had a spiritual creation or birth before it became temporal or physical. Then this sphere fell from the presence of God, and it, too, must follow the gospel plan of redemption. Because of its fallen condition, an atonement was required to redeem the earth. According to Parley P. Pratt, this atonement for the earth was made by Jesus Christ. Christ offered himself a sacrifice for this earth, for men, for the animals, for fishes, and the creeping things. Christ died for the earth and for the elements. Christ died for all mankind upon its face. Journal of Discourses, Volume 3, pages 315 and 316. Prior to this atonement, however, the earth experienced a baptism by water at the time of Noah, and it will receive another baptism, of fire, sometime in the future. Brigham Young explained, "This earth, in its present condition and situation, is not a fit habitation for the sanctified, but it abides the law of its creation, has been baptized with water, will be baptized by fire and the Holy Ghost, and by will be prepared for the faithful to dwell upon." Journal of Disco Courses, Volume 8, page 83, page 182. And from Orson Pratt. Now, do you not see that there is a similarity in regard to God's dealings with the earth and with the inhabitants who dwell upon its face? The earth has to undergo a change as well as our bodies. As our bodies may be burned at the stake and the ashes blown to the four winds of heaven, so will the earth be burned and pass away, and in the same manner as our bodies are renewed out of the elements which once entered into their composition, or at least a sufficient quantity thereof to make a new body, so will the earth have to be renewed again and resurrected, redeemed and made immortal from the elements of which it was formerly composed, so that those immortal beings who are brought forth from the grave will have an immortal earth to dwell upon. Journal of Discourses Volume 16 page 323. End of the earth and the world. Similarly, the earth must die, as a living body, for the seeds of death have been sown within it. It, too, feels the grief from sin and sorrow in its fallen condition. Enoch wrote an interesting account of this. And it came to pass that Enoch looked upon the earth, and he heard a voice from the bowels thereof, saying, Woe, woe is me, the mother of men! I am pained, I am weary, because of the wickedness of my children. When shall I rest, and be cleansed from the filthiness which is gone forth out of me? When will my Creator sanctify me, that I may rest, and righteousness for a season abide upon my face? And when Enoch heard the earth mourn, he wept, and cried unto the Lord, saying, O Lord, wilt thou not have compassion upon the earth? This chapter 7 verses 48 and 49. Page 183. Orson Pratt gives the following information which answers these questions. Read the Key to John's Revelations, published in the Pearl of Great Price, and you will find that there is a very great work to be performed, after the 7,000 years, called the millennium, has commenced. You will find that the 7 trumpets are to sound, preparatory to the beginning and finishing of his work in the morning of the 7,000 years, just as the Lord performed a work in the 7th day of creation, when he planted the Garden of Eden and placed the man Adam therein. He performed quite a temporal work in the process of creation on the morning of the 7th day, and so he will perform a work at the beginning of the 7,000 years, after the 7th millennium shall open, and the nature of the work, which will then be performed, was typified by that which God performed in the beginning. In the beginning of the 7th day or time of creation he placed man in the Garden of Eden, free from the curse, and, says the Key to John's Revelations, in the morning of the 7,000 years will he sanctify the earth, redeem man from the grave, and seal all things to the end of all things. Journal of Discourses Volume 16 page 325. It is at this time that the earth will be renewed and receive its paradisiacal glory, as it states in the 10th article of faith. It should be kept in mind, however, that this is not the same as the earth's baptism by fire, at which time the earth becomes as a sea of glass. This great change occurs after the millennium, or 7,000 years. During the millennium, the earth will exist in a terrestrial condition, as it was before the fall of Adam in the Garden of Eden. Then after its baptism by fire, it will be resurrected, purified, and celestialized and become a sea of glass. Page 184. Thus, there is a striking parallel between the events in the history of the earth and those in the life of a righteous man, which include his baptism by water, receiving the Holy Ghost, his baptism by fire, and his ultimate resurrection in the celestial kingdom. An editorial in the Times and Seasons explained the progress of these events, and again, Verily I say unto you, the earth abideth the law of a celestial kingdom, for it fulfilleth the measure of its creation, and transgresseth not the law. Wherefore, it shall be sanctified, yes, notwithstanding it shall die, it shall be quickened again, and shall abide the power by which it is quickened, and the righteous shall inherit it, for notwithstanding they die, they also shall rise again a spiritual body. The earth, as part of the creation of God, has and will fulfill the measure of its creation. It has been baptized by water, it will be baptized by fire, it will be purified and become celestial, and be a fit place for celestial bodies to inhabit. It will become the residence of those who have abode a celestial law, and of none others. Times and Seasons Volume 5, page 408. The purification of the earth by fire will be a literal occurrence. The earth and everything that is upon it must experience a literal fire for the purging and cleansing necessary to prepare it for a celestial glory, as the following passages describe. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. 2 Peter chapter 3 verses 10 and page 185. And every corruptible thing, both of man, or of the beasts of the field, or of the fowls of the heavens, or of the fish of the sea, that dwells upon all the face of the earth, shall be consumed, and also that of element shall melt with fervent heat, and all things shall become new, that my knowledge and glory may dwell upon all the earth. Doctrine and Covenants section 101 verses 24 and 25. Regarding the cleansing and resurrection of the earth, Orson Pratt says, "Now how does the Lord make this new earth? He makes it out of the materials of the old one. This very earth on which we dwell, whose elements are to be melted and sanctified with fervent heat, in order that the saints may reign upon it, will be resurrected, the elements thereof will be brought together again, as they were in the beginning, and they will be sanctified and purified, and made holy and celestial, and become like a sea of glass." Journal of Discourses Volume 16 page 323. And this leads us to the next section. The sea of glass. This expression, the sea of glass, was explained for us by the prophet Joseph Smith. 1. What is the sea of glass spoken of by John, 4th chapter, and 6th verse of the Revelation? 2. It is the earth, in its sanctified, immortal, and eternal state. Doctrine and Covenants section 77 verse 1, 3. And also, page 186, while at dinner, I remarked to my family and friends present, that when the earth was sanctified and became like a sea of glass, it would be one great Urim and Thummim, and the saints could look in it and see as they are seen. We learn that the place where God resides is a great Urim and Thummim, that the earth itself when sanctified and made an immortal sphere will be a Urim and Thummim to the inhabitants who dwell upon it, whereby all things pertaining to inferior kingdoms will be revealed to them, and to each of such inhabitants an individual Urim and Thummim will be given through which knowledge pertaining to kingdoms of a higher order will be revealed. Dr. History of the Church Volume 5 page 279. And further knowledge was included later in the Doctrine and Covenants. The place where God resides is a great Urim and Thummim. This earth, in its sanctified and immortal state, will be made like unto crystal, and will be a Urim and Thummim to the inhabitants who dwell thereon, whereby all things pertaining to an inferior kingdom, or all kingdoms of a lower order, will be manifest to those who dwell on it, and this earth will be Christ's. Doctrine and Covenants section 130 verses 8 and 9. Brigham Young also commented on this future glorified condition of the earth. If the people could fully understand this matter, speaking of baptism, they would perceive that it is perfectly reasonable and has been the law to all worlds. And this world, so benighted at present, and so lightly esteemed by infidels, as observed by Brother Clements, when it becomes celestialized, it will be like the sun, and be prepared for the habitation of the saints, and be brought back into the presence of the Father and the Son. Page 187. It will not then be an opaque body as it now is, but it will be like the stars of the firmament, full of light and glory. It will be a body of light. John compared it, in its celestialized state, to a sea of glass. L. Journal of Discourses, Volume 7, page 163. We shall go and come, and when we are in the eternity, we shall be on this earth, which will be brought into the immediate presence of the Father and the Son. We shall inhabit different mansions, and worlds will continue to be made, formed, and organized, and messengers from this earth will be sent to others. This earth will become a celestial body, be like a sea of glass, or like a Urim and Thummim, and when you wish to know anything, you can look in this earth and see all the eternities of God. We shall make our home here, and go on our missions as we do now, but at greater than railroad speed. Journal of Discourses Volume 8 page 200. It is interesting that even scientists have concluded that if this Earth ever experienced extreme heat, it would become like glass. The industries that manufacture glass products tell us that there is so much silica, lime, potash and other products in the Earth that if the Earth was melted at an extreme temperature it would become a ball of glass. See Science Digest Special, July 1967, page 45. A New Heaven and a New Earth. The promise has been given that the Earth will return from its fallen place to again be placed in its former residence with God. The prophet Joseph Smith said, "This Earth will be rolled back into the presence of God, and crowned with celestial glory." Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 181. Brigham Young commented, "The Earth will abide its creation, and will be counted worthy of receiving the blessings designed for it, and will ultimately roll back into the presence of God who formed it." Journal of Discourses Volume 8 page 8. Page 1. Page 188. And again, this earthly ball, this little opaque substance thrown off into space, is only a speck in the great universe, and when it is celestialized it will go back into the presence of God, where it was first framed. Journal of Discourses Volume 9, page 317. The Apostle Orson Hyde elaborated on this grand occasion by beautifully explaining, "What becomes of the earth then? Why, says the prophet, it shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression therefore shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall, and not rise again. If the earth falls, which way will it go, up or down? Tell me, ye wise men, ye philosophers. Will not the greatest and most powerful planet attract it whether it goes up or down? For the greater bodies attract the lesser. If the earth falls, and is not to rise again, it will be removed out of its present orbit. Where will it go to? God says He will gather all things into one, then He will gather the earth likewise, and all that is in it, in one. The gathering will be upon a larger scale in time to come, for by and by the stars of heaven will fall. Which way will they go? They will rally to a grand center, and there will be one grand constellation of worlds. I pray that we may be there, and shine among those millions of worlds that will be stars in the Almighty's crown. The earth will have to be removed from its place, and reel to and fro like a drunkard. The fact is, it has got to leave the old track in which it has roamed in time past, and beat a new track, and saith the Lord, "Come up here." What is He going to do with it? Why, take it where the sun will shine upon it continually, and, page 189, there shall be no more night there, and the hand of God will wipe away the tears from all faces. Come up here, O earth. For I want the saints who have passed through much tribulation to be glorified with you, and then I will give the earth to the meek. For I will take the curse from it, and rebuke the destroyer for your sakes, and bring all things in subjection to you, and you shall dwell in everlasting light. Now it is half day and half night, but I tell you it is not going to be half and half, but there will be no night there. We have but one sun to shine upon us, but when the earth is taken out of this orbit, it will come in contact with the rays of other suns that illuminate other spheres. Their rays will dazzle our earth, and make the glory of God rest upon it, so that there will be no more night there. Journal of Discourses Volume 1 pages 129 and 130. The Lord said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Matthew 5 verse 5. The earth shall be exalted in the celestial presence of God, and so will righteous men. According to President Brigham Young, this earth has probably descended into deeper levels of sin and wickedness than any of the others our God ever created. But, as a result of overcoming all this, its exaltation will be greater. We are inhabitants of a world of sin and sorrow, pain and anguish, every ill that can be heaped upon intelligent beings in a probation we are heirs to. I suppose that God never organized an earth and peopled it that was ever reduced to a lower state of darkness, sin and ignorance than this. I suppose this is one of the lowest kingdoms that ever the Lord Almighty created, and on that account is capable of becoming exalted to be one of the highest kingdoms that has ever had an exaltation in all the eternities. Journal of Discourses Volume 10 page 175. Page 190. So, like the earth, those men who can pass through the darkness, wickedness and temptations of this world and yet remain faithful, will be rewarded with a place among the highest mansions in God's kingdoms. What a promise! What great destinies await those men of God! Andromeda Galaxy, one of the most impressive constellations of stars, suns, depicting the gathering of celestial worlds. Conclusion Chapter 20 of Mysteries of Creation by Ogden Kraut starting on page 191.
So that is that chapter, the full reading. There was some glitches. That was kind of weird. And then I've got to re-edit a little bit. My favorite mistake was disco courses instead of Journal of Discourses. It was Journal of Disco Courses. Oh man, that's kind of funny. Anyway, so that story that I told you earlier, about the first time I ever saw Satan, when I was living in North Salt Lake. It's if you're going southbound on I-15 and you see the sign that says exit 314, you look over and there is a couple of billboards. Ron Case is one of them. They're electronic billboards, but it's like right there off the highway. Like the frontage road goes underneath and I'm over it right now. And it goes from the west side to the east side of I-15 on an underpass, I guess. And the interstate goes over the top of it. But anyway, so if you're on that road and you go down, I don't know, like probably if you're in a neighborhood, it would be like 4 houses. The house just to the south of it is a double-story house, and then the house that is just to the north of it is the house that I lived in, and my bedroom was on the east side. And it used to be a kind of a pink, orange, like light orange or pink house. We call it pink, but um, like I drive by it every once in a while when I was a teenager. Like I used to live there, you know. Of course, I lived in a lot of places in this little area when I was younger. But anyway, that was the house that I saw Satan in for the first time. I think I was like, it was before my stepdad married my mom, the one that was an alcoholic and the one that stabbed me when I was 12 and the one that used to beat me all the time. So my mom married him when I was 6, and I think she married him because she got pregnant with my little brother. That was interesting. He had a house in Roy, and I have no idea how they even met. But I remember moving into his house. It wasn't a house, it was an apartment, kind of close to the Roy Recreation Complex and by the high school, I think it was. But like he had 2 bedrooms, and the front room was not furniture. No, he didn't have furniture. He had a pool table. Oh man, Rick Kip was his name. is his name. He's still alive. He lives in Beaver Dam, Arizona now. But anyway, and then the room that we used to sleep in was his video game room, and he had like a small couch, and then we'd sleep on the couch and the floor. So me and my two sisters, and they got married in their backyard, the backyard of Dean and Janice Kipp, who were my step grandparents. And Dean was not not the nicest guy, but Janice was awesome. She died of cancer many years ago, but she was so cool. A lot of people at Lagoon still know her because she worked there for so many years. Like whenever I go to Lagoon, I'll be like, "Hey, like if they're adults, not kids, be like, hey, how long have you worked here? Did you know Janice Kipp? Oh yeah, I knew her. She was such a good person." Anyway, but my stepdad and my mom got married to each other in their backyard, Mr. and Mrs. Kipp. And I even went by Tyson Kipp when I was in elementary school. A bunch of my records were under Tyson Kipp. I don't think we ever had our name changed, so I don't know how that all worked. But my dad was not anywhere around. Whenever the authorities would find him, he would like pack up and move with his new family. And he worked under the table a lot, and they would always try to like garnish his wages for child support, and then he would just leave. He is a piece of crap. Uh, and you know what? It's so messed up because he was also a drug addict, but he got clean for his new family. But ooh, US 189 to close at Creek Road. Let's speed the storm. Anyway, it's just raining now, but I'm sure as I get into the mountains, I'm going to have to deal with snow. It's 5:41 p.m. and it is dark out already. The sun set at 5:02. Anyway, but oh man, I I'm pretty sure I was either I think I was 5 when I met him for the first time, but then they got married when I was 6. So I think that the time when I saw Satan was actually right before I turned 6. I actually remember my 6th birthday. It's like one of the only birthdays I remember. Um, when you're severely abused, there's a lot of things that you don't remember, and I can't remember a lot about my childhood other than I remember some things very well, and most of them had to do with um, the sexual and/or physical abuse that that I had to endure. A lot of strange spiritual occurrences, like I said, the poltergeist stuff or the demonic stuff that happened to me. I remember that. I remember a lot of good memories with my grandparents that raised me so much when I was younger. Mostly my maternal grandparents, but also my paternal grandparents. They helped as well, but mostly my maternal grandparents. And, Rick, as bad as he was, I feel sorry for him because his father he's dead now, but his father was very abusive to Rick and to his sister, or Dean's daughter, Vicky. Oh man. And he was a military man, very strict military man, and he raised his kids like they were in the military, and Rick raised me like I was in the military, but oh, he got so violent. And like he had to deal with my mom, so he wasn't so bad at first. But he got really bad, and they were married for 6 years. And I wonder how she played a role in causing him to be that way, you know? And I wonder how my dad became that way. Like if my mom did something, and I know my mom did things because my mom's the one that did things to me, which is really screwed up. Um, After my son died, um, I just I had some issues, and then my daughter died, and I had my other son who's now 6, and like I just couldn't handle it all. So I actually got on medication because I was so sad all the time. And part of that was I'd look at my son and I'd be like, how could anybody hurt this child? And he's like me. He's like so much like me. He's awesome, you know. And I think to myself, like, this is me when I was 6, and the things that happened to me, like they'll never, if I can help it, ever happen to my son, you know. But like, how could those people put me through that, you know? And I went to counseling, and like I would just cry the whole time I was at counseling, you know. And I had to get on medication because I'd cry while I was driving down the road. I'd just cry all the time. I was so sad. And the medication that I'm on, even now, um, like it levels me out. So, which has some effects that really suck, but the benefits of the medication that I'm on help me to be able to deal with day-to-day life without crying all the time. You know, like I can't forget the things that have happened to me that do make me sad still, you know. But um, but this was all for the experience that God needed me to go through. And when um, I was taken up in the flesh to Mount Vashel, and I saw the Father face to face, after the Father sealed me up unto himself, gave me the fullness of the priesthood and the keys of the kingdom, the priesthood, and the church, um, the work of the Father, basically. Um, I Jesus Christ was standing there, and I embraced him as well. And then the Father instructed me to go with Jesus and um, to go talk with him for a while, and we did. We went down to another place in that room, and it was a large room, like not huge, but like not as big as a cultural center, a cultural hall. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like so cool. Like all the walls were white marble. Anyway, but there was this little on the one end of the room. So the Father did what he did at the one end of the room, and then we walked, and there's like no furniture in this area where we were standing, but down at the other end of the room there was like the room was rectangle, but at the one end of the room, it went in, and there was like some like granite, or maybe it was white marble, I can't remember, but there were these basically stone benches that we could sit on, and we just sat there for a long time and talked. And I remember one of the things he told me was, and this is the only time I've ever seen them in the flesh, but I've seen them many times in the spirit and in dreams and in visions. Um, but this time I was with them physically, and we sat there and we talked, and Jesus told me that all of the things that I had to go through, he allowed that to happen to me for his wise purposes. And I still don't understand fully, and I know I will, but he allowed that to happen for his wise purpose, that I might become the servant that he wants me to be. So the video stops when my daughter calls me, and that's what just happened. They're like, "Where are you at?" I'm on I-15, a quarter mile from 7200 south, going southbound, in traffic, going 21 miles an hour. Anyway, so but Jesus told me, he allowed those things to happen to me, which, like I said, like it still hurts that those things happen to me, and I won't really I don't think I'll ever really understand why until the resurrection. Um, and I'm not like angry. Well, I guess I am kind of angry. I don't know. I don't know what the feelings that I have about this. Like, I don't want anything to do with those people anymore. Um, I just don't. So, anyway, I do kind of miss my brothers and sisters, kind of like I miss being in the LDS church. But like, it seems like as soon as God revealed to me who I am, um, I just there was a lot of people that I don't talk to anymore. So, but I have my wife and I have my kids and I love them and I have a couple of really good friends. And you know what? Um, I don't even need my friends. I enjoy having some of my friends, but the only people that I really want in my life is my wife and kids. I don't mind being by myself. I love being with them. And I feel like I'm living a fulfilled life. And I don't really feel like being a leader. And I don't really want to go into the wilderness. I kind of like my truck driving job. And I kind of like um, my home out in the country all by myself with my family. Um, but I understand, like this society that we live in is like a bunch of frogs being boiled in a pot, and they don't even realize how wicked things have become or how wicked things are. But I see it all around me, and I don't want to be part of it, but I do enjoy some of the comforts, and I do not, because of my homelessness in the past, enjoy camping at all. I love going to hotels and doing that. We call it glamping with the pool and the hot tub. I love the hot tub. I do not like pools. Um, I'm very sensitive to certain things, and I don't like it. But I do like the hot tub as long as it's not too hot, and I don't like the bubbles at all. I like it to be calm. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna get off this little thing that I'm doing here, and I'm going to post this on Sunday. I might even post it tonight, but I'm going to go over the editing and make sure that it's broken up into 4 or 5 parts so that I can do hopefully the 5 parts. So the chapter after this is the conclusion of Mysteries of Creation. And then I was thinking about doing the book Jesus Was Married, which is the first book that Ogden Kraut wrote. He wrote it in a single sitting over, I think, a 3-day period. He was given a commission by I believe it was David O. McKay. It could have been Joseph Fielding Smith, but I think it was David O. McKay that actually gave him the commission to do what he did in writing these books, to preserve true doctrine. So, and later on he was excommunicated for it, because in the LDS church, things change with each leader. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a bishop, things will change. It gets worse with the stake presidents, it gets worse with the area authorities, it gets worse with the apostles and the president of the church, like he's going to do what he wants to do. It doesn't matter if Gordon B. Hinckley said, we should embrace the word Mormonism because it's so great, And like even back then, Russell M. Nelson was like, don't say it. We should be called this. And then as soon as he gets to be president of the church, he's like, it's a win for Satan. Well, was it a win for Satan when Gordon B. Hinckley was doing the whole, I'm a Mormon campaign? Such jackasses. These people, they're not led by revelation. They're led by something else. And there's good ones and there's bad ones, but none of them are who they claim to be. So, all right, well, I'm going to get on with it, and I'm going to enjoy my day off as soon as I get home. And yeah, that's what's going on right now with me. Thank you for watching, everyone, and enjoy your your night, because it's let's see, this will be right around 7 p.m. on Sunday when you watch this. So, all right, take care, everyone. God bless. Goodbye.